Today we're going to talk about the first game of Magic ever played. Not the first game of tournament Magic, not the first game of constructed Magic, the first game ever. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to my video on the first game of Magic ever played. It's an interesting story. So, I'm guessing when you think about who played the first game of Magic, you can guess one of the two people pretty easily, right? Kinda has to be Richard Garfield, the inventor of the game. Be kinda weird if he wasn't the first guy to play it, right? But who's the other person? You don't know? I didn't even know, really. I'd never heard the name before, which is weird because this dude has had more of an impact on the game than I would have realized. His name is Barry Reich. His nickname is Bit, both for his apparently short stature and his interest in computers. So, this was the man. Richard Garfield came up with the concept of Magic the Gathering, and he came to Barry first to play the very first game. Now, how did it originally start? Well, Magic was originally printed on tiny little slips of paper. Obviously, as a game, imagine you went and created a game. You're not going to sit there and go to a professional printer and make all these cards and everything, right? So, started out on little pieces of paper using whatever artwork they could get their hands on, hand-drawn, lifted from here or there. I'll give you an example. So what I'm going to put up on the screen is the playtest version of Pearled Unicorn and the alpha version of Pearled Unicorn. Now, if you look at the casting cost, you can see on the playtest versions what it actually shows. You can see the alpha version has 1 white, 2 colorless, so it costs 3 in total. On the playtest version, you'll see that there is a W and a number 3. Now, what that's actually saying is that the creature costs 3, one of those has to be a white mana. So the casting costs are identical. That is just how they were originally printed on the card. Now, you'll notice some other differences as well. It's very simplified. The artwork on the playtest Pearled Unicorn was actually taken from the very first monster manual for Dungeons and Dragons, the one that was printed back in 1977. So basically, some of the artwork, you can tell where it comes from. Some of it is just hand-drawn. Some of these playtest cards have the text typed onto them, and some of them have them handwritten. Obviously, it's just a change-as-you-go kind of deal. So, for the very, very first game of Magic, Richard came to Barry, and they were at the, the University of Pennsylvania, I believe, if I didn't mention that already. Anyways, the deck itself was 80 cards to start with. So they started with a stack of 80 cards, and Richard Garfield split that into 2 stacks of 40. They each played with a deck of 40 cards. They played for Ante. Ante had been part of Magic since the very beginning. So they basically played each other until one of them had an unplayable deck. Now, according to the information that I found, Barry was the winner of the very first game of Magic. One of the things that Richard liked most about Barry when it came to Magic, one of his favorite memories, was the fact that whenever Barry got out a sea serpent, he would actually start making growling noises and pull a plastic snake out of a bag and put it on the table. Now, I think this is fantastic. I didn't even really know this guy existed until I started looking into this. And on top of that, he's had more influence in the game than you would think. He was actually helped with design for Revised and 4th edition as well, so he had a hand there. And there are certain mechanics that existed farther, much further along. For example, when the domain ability came along in Invasion, that was invented by Barry. And Barry also basically invented wastes as well. Like back in the 90s, he came up with, okay, this is a basic land that taps for a colorless, but they didn't think they could work it, so they kind of just threw the idea to the side. But it's very interesting to note that this guy has had more of an impact on Magic history than you would think, and it's really cool to think about going all the way back. I mean, Magic the Gathering is an established game now. We have all these nice cards, and you get these special deck boxes. Like, there's so much around it, so much business around it, but at one point, it was just a dude in his dorm room with another friend saying, yo, I came up with this game, let's play with these little pieces of paper. I love it. I mean, that's where everything starts, but it's just hard to see when something's been going along for so long. And even when I started with the cards all being printed in 94, it's quaint to think of these little playtest slips. Now, these playtest cards are basically held in the hands of people who have had them all the way since the beginning, so you don't see them kicking around, you don't hear about them most of the time. But it's really neat to think about just two guys sitting in a dorm playing with a couple of little cut up pieces of computer paper with stuff scrawled on them that eventually became this gigantic sprawling game of Magic the Gathering. So for me, I found this an interesting dip into Magic's history. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to shout out my friend Josh. You know what? He got awarded a scholarship today. He is both a giant wrestling maniac and a gentle-hearted artist. So good job to you, Josh. And on a closing note, if you haven't already, take a look at my second channel, Hatch. We got some fun stuff over there. So thanks for coming by, my friends. See you next time.
Hey, I'm Josh, and together we're the Six Color of Magic.